guys, it's Callista. So today I'm going to be filming a video that I've always wanted to film, but I guess I've never really had the courage to film it. Also, I'm really sorry if the lighting changes throughout this video. I'm outside, so it tends to happen. Today I will be talking about a disorder that I struggle from, and it's called OCD. I get a lot of comments from you guys that are like, oh my gosh, I love your videos, you know, I look up to you, you're an inspiration. It's literally the nicest thing ever that you guys say those things. I want to be able to also help you guys out more with things that aren't just, you know, beauty and fashion related and what to do with your hair and all that. So I decided today I wanted to open up about this and help you guys out that might be struggling with similar things, since a lot of people struggle from this and not a lot of people talk about it. And I know if I was my younger self when I first started having symptoms and everything, it would have really helped me out to have somebody that was a similar age to me talk about it. If you're not into videos like this, I'll have a normal video next week, so don't worry. And yeah, let's just get started. So what is OCD? So OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. I'm gonna read the definition on this page just so you guys know the legit definitions. Excessive thoughts, obsessions that lead to repetitive behaviors, compulsions. What OCD is to me is that I have these thoughts in my head and they're things that I don't want to happen and things that I'm trying to prevent. In order to prevent them, you do certain things to try and prevent them, even though you know that it's never gonna actually prevent them. Your mind makes you think that it will. It won't really make sense to anybody, I guess, that doesn't have OCD, and I understand that, but it makes sense to people with OCD. I'm going to get into my entire story with OCD, and then from there, y'all will be able to figure out more. I never struggled with anything related to this until I was in 6th grade. Someone in my family came down with a flu, and I did not want this flu. This flu seemed horrible. It was going around, and I was like, I cannot get this. And so I don't know why, but in my head, I came up with this idea that if I started saying these certain words, that it wouldn't happen. So I was just saying it kind of more as a superstition of anything, and I thought I wouldn't get it. I thought that I was only going to do it when my family had the flu at the time, but it turned out that it never went away. I remember that happened over some sort of break. It might have been Christmas break, so I went to school the next week and I was still doing it, which was super weird, but it was really weird because in my house, I did hide it, but it wasn't as much of a weird thing to hide it because, you know, you're not always surrounded by people, but at school you're surrounded by people. It was really hard for me to deal with it when I went back to school because I didn't know what it was. I just thought it was a superstition and I kept doing it, but I couldn't get myself to stop it, and so I kept, you know, saying whatever this thing was. I feel like since I didn't get the flu at the time, it might have just helped me feel like I was protecting myself since I didn't get it and I was saying those words. It kind of fed into the superstition of it all. Fast forward time, it started getting worse. I would have to go and touch doorknobs 4 times, and then I'd have to go turn on a light switch 8 times on and off. I don't know why, but I had to do this, and then if I messed it up, I had to do it again. I wouldn't even mess it up, but since I messed up the counting in my head, I'd have to redo it. I had to make sure all the lights in my house were off before I left my house. There's just a bunch of things that I felt like I had to do, and it was just progressively getting worse and worse. It was really hard for me to deal with, especially because I didn't even have a name for it. It's what am I gonna look up touching a doorknob 8 times? How would you know something was wrong with you? Especially because at the time I was so young, I didn't even put 1 and 2 together, but it was driving me insane. I didn't want to tell my parents at the time because I thought that they would think that I was insane or something. And then, but I mean, obviously your parents are gonna catch on when it's taking you forever to get out the door and they hear a door shutting 8 times. I don't know, it's just weird things like that. It was so mentally straining to be doing these things and always be fighting with your mind because you know nothing's gonna happen, but there's always that what if factor into it. So I remember one day I was watching a reality show on VH1, and it was a show where they sent people to rehab, and I can't remember what it was, but in this show someone had OCD, and in that show they sent the person to rehab because it was so bad. And I remember watching it, and this person was going through the exact same thing as me, so I was that's what I have. So I went to my computer, I looked it up, and I was this sounds just like me, but I didn't really know how to bring it up to my parents. My mom started noticing the little tics that I had because it just started getting worse and worse and worse because it was taking over my entire life. From the time I woke up till the time I went to bed, it was just so hard to deal with that she started noticing it, and she didn't know it was wrong, and she would tell me to stop doing it. She'd be don't do that, why? So I dealt with these things from the time I was in 6th grade until the time I was in 8th grade, and finally in 8th grade I couldn't deal with it anymore. It was so mentally straining. From the time that I woke up, I would have to blink my eyes 4 times, and then from the time that I went to bed, I'd have to turn on the light switch 8 times, and it was just so draining and I was so tired. It was so hard to deal with, especially being so young, because like I knew I needed help and I wanted to get the help, but at the time I was like, if I go and get help and if I go to therapy or whatever, I will be crazy. There was such a stigma around going to therapy that I was just like, if I go to therapy, like I'm crazy. Like everybody's gonna think I'm crazy. Everybody's gonna think that I have some sort of issue. Like obviously I do, but it's just something like anxiety. It's like you can function as a normal person. You just have this thing. OCD is a form of anxiety. So anyways, when I was in 8th grade, I woke up one day and I like could not deal with it. I went through the whole day. I didn't want to wake up because I knew that when I woke up, I would have to do these things and I couldn't stop myself. Just to clarify, I was all good. I never had thoughts of doing anything bad to myself or anything, but it was just so hard to deal with. My parents had offered me prior to this to go to therapy, but like I said, I refused to go. So in 8th grade, I remember one night I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I sat my mom down, I was in tears. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live my life like this. Like it's physically impossible to get anything done. I can't focus on anything besides this. And my mom told me, she was like, the only way you're ever gonna figure it out and go back to living a functioning life is if you accept the help that we're trying to like give you. I agreed to go to therapy and it felt so good. Like once I actually was there, it just kind of verified going to therapy that like I wasn't crazy and so many people deal with this and that I could like live a normal life. But something that I also had to accept is that I'm never gonna be able to not have it. It's like a lifelong thing. I'm always gonna have to deal with it, and that was one of the hardest things to ever accept, was the fact that it's never gonna go away. It started in 6th grade, I'm in 12th grade right now, and it's never gone away. I deal with it every single day. I deal with it still. It's not bad to the point where I can't function every day. I can go through my day really well without it bothering me. Now, the only time it gets really bad is when I'm stressed out about something. I had to go to school for a short period of time this year because you guys know I was homeschooled. It's a form of anxiety. I have certain anxiety over certain things. I didn't like the place that I was going and all this stuff, and it just made it really bad. I don't go to therapy anymore, but when I was in school, I literally almost went back because it got so bad again. And that was only a few months ago. That was back in like October or November where it got really bad again. For the most part, I'm pretty good. It's like little things every day that it's like still there. Still, before I leave my house, I have to check and make sure that certain things are in its places before I leave. It's hard because I have to constantly remind myself, like, yes, you just checked that, like, it's fine, it's there. And the biggest part is like telling myself that it's gonna be okay and nothing's gonna happen, and accepting the fact that like I can leave things and all that. So those are like a lot of the things that I do, and that's my story dealing with OCD. For those wondering, I've never gone on medicine for it. I'm sure people with it know that you can go on medicine for it, and that's a really big way a lot of people treat it. I just try not to go on medicine for it since I had so many health issues going on at the time when I was in 8th grade that I didn't want to take more medicine, and I wanted to try and deal with it not with medicine. My doctors think the reason that I have it is because it's a side effect of everything I went through like when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I had a lot of health issues. I'm sure you guys know about that. If you ever want me to go in depth about that, I can. They think it's kind of like an effect of that. So that is my story with OCD, and I hope this helped you guys out a little bit, even if it's not directly with OCD, but something similar. It feels really good to get this off my chest. I hope it does really help somebody, because I remember when I was younger, I would search YouTube and try and find people that had it just to help me out personally, and like no other people had it. So I hope this helps anyone out there. And also guys, don't be afraid to go get help if you really need it, because it's honestly not that bad and it feels so good to have somebody to talk to. So I hope you guys like this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you guys did. And also, if you guys want to, feel free to leave your struggles in the comments with it if you have it, or something similar if you're, you know, up to that. You want to. If not, you don't have to. I sincerely hope this video helped out at least one person. And yeah, I love you guys so much. So bye guys.